Hi, welcome back to my vegan kitchen. So the other night I was thinking to myself, it's been a long time since I've had corned beef. So I got to thinking, I should do a recipe making a vegan corned beef brisket. So today, that's what our recipe is going to be. It's going to be making a corned beef brisket. So I'm going to get everything ready. I'll take you down, show you what's going to be in here, and we'll put this baby together. Be right back. Okay, these are some of the products that we're going to be using today to make this, and I will list all this down in the info section for the recipe, and you can also find it on my blog. And this should turn out absolutely incredible. First thing that we're going to start out with is our vital wheat gluten. So we're going to use 1 cup. Let's dump that in there. Then next we're going to be using 2 to 3 tablespoons of unbleached flour. And the reason why I'm going to add the flour to the gluten is because I heard that if you do that, what it does is it helps firm up the meat and at the same time helps make it more tender. So I'm going to give it a try and see what happens. So what we need 2 to 3 tablespoons of unbleached white flour. 1, there's 2 tablespoons, and we're going to make it 3 today. Okay, next you're going to need 2 tablespoons of mushroom powder. The mushroom powder, what it is, I went out and I bought dried shiitake mushrooms, and I just put them in a grinder and grinded them up. So there's 1 tablespoon, and then there's 2 tablespoons. Then next we'll need a half a teaspoon of garlic powder. Okay, next we need 1 teaspoon of paprika, and you can use either regular paprika or you could use a smoked paprika. Then we're going to need a half a teaspoon of black pepper. And then we're going to need 1 teaspoon of ground mustard. And then we're going to need a half a teaspoon of ground clove. And the clove is what's going to make it have that corned beef flavor. So, then we're going to need a 1/4 cup of nutritional yeast flake. Dump that in there. Then we're going to need a half a teaspoon of allspice seasoning. Then we're going to need 2 tablespoons of vegan Worcestershire sauce. There's 1 and 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. Then we're going to need 1.5 teaspoons of salt. Okay, there's 1.5. And the salt will help preserve this too while it's in the refrigerator. The one thing I did not show you in the intro is how we're going to make this red is I've taken a half a cup of water, and I've taken 1 small to medium beet, and I've ground that all up. And to that, I'm also going to add some of our beef bouillon. I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of beef bouillon to it. And then I'm just going to go ahead and mix that all up really well in there. Okay, and then we're just going to add that into our mix. Now comes the fun part. This is where we get to mix it all up. So grab yourself a spoon at first. Go ahead and mix all the ingredients in together. Then you can go ahead and grab it, start smooshing your meat around. Well, I take and make sure you get all the ingredients incorporated. Make sure it has a good firm texture. I mean, if it comes out a little bit too wet, don't be afraid to add a little bit more vital wheat gluten. So we're just massaging that around, making sure that everything is getting incorporated. It's gonna have a nice red meaty color to it. It's gonna be real good to have like corned beef and hash, but what I'm looking forward to the most is making a Reuben. I have not had a Reuben for a very, very long time. Okay, so once we have all that mixed together, you can even taste it to see if you like the flavor. Oh yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, the one ingredient I forgot to show you to add into the mix was your maple syrup. So I'm just going to go ahead and do it now. You're going to add 1.5 tablespoons of maple syrup. So there's 1, then about 1/2. Now I'm just going to fold that all back into it again. So make sure you don't make the same mistake. Just add your maple syrup before you begin to incorporate all your ingredients. Okay, I'm going to let this rest and I'll be right back. I'm going to add the olive oil. I'm going to add like 4 tablespoons of olive oil to it. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 tablespoons of olive oil. Now I'll reincorporate that into it. Now it might be getting a little bit wet for me. It is just a little bit wet, so I'm going to add just a little bit more vital wheat gluten. A little bit at a time. Okay, now we're just going to let it rest for a little bit. Okay, so we want to go ahead and begin to form our brisket. A brisket is normally more flatter than it is round, so we're just going to kind of work our brisket around, kind of get it all nice and pressed out. This is going to be a good deli meat. And you want to kind of shape it so that way when it's all finished and said and done, when you go ahead and cut it into like deli meat slices. Okay, once you have that all done, just go ahead and flip it over. Now we're going to add some beefless beef bouillon. So we're just going to take and we're going to just put some down on the Saran wrap and spread it out a little bit. Now we're going to want to take and just flip our brisket back over, put it on top. Now we want to sprinkle some on top too. Then we'll kind of rub it in. So we just put a little bit on top. And like I said, this is a not beef bouillon. And I will have the recipe on how to make it. So we'll kind of get that around the edges, make sure it's kind of dark. Don't want to get too carried away. So next what we're going to do is we're going to flip that back over. And we're going to take some pickling spices. It's got peppercorns and some other good stuff in there. We're going to take and just spread it down on the Saran wrap. We're going to take and flip it back over again. So that way it coats that one side. Then we're going to take some and we're going to put some on top. So we got our pickling spices on there and we got our non-beef beef bouillon. And then like a deli meat has fairly salty. Yeah, that's totally up to you if you want to add more salt or not to it. But I'm going to go ahead and add some more salt to the top of it. Maybe about a quarter teaspoon. Then we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. And I'm going to go put this in the refrigerator and let it sit for about 30 minutes. Okay, so while our meat's resting, what we're going to do is we're going to make our brine that we're going to cook our meat in. Now there are two ways to actually do this. One is you could roll your meat in foil really tight and put it in a steamer and let it steam for an hour and a half. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually put it in a brine and I'm going to bake it for an hour and a half. So we're going to go ahead and make the brine right now. So it takes 5 cups of water. And I've seen this recipe online and it looked really good, so I thought I would give it a try. It takes 2 bay leaves. Make sure you crack them so that way you get the flavor. Use 4 to 5 cloves of garlic. Just add them in there. Then you're going to want to use 2 tablespoons of salt. So there's 1 tablespoon and there's 2 tablespoons of salt. Now we're going to add some brown sugar, and we're going to put about 2 tablespoons of brown sugar in there. So about 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. Then you're going to want to add in 1 tablespoon of mustard seed. And then you're going to want to add in 1.5 teaspoons of allspice berries. Now these berries, they smell so good. Oh, it's delicious. So there's 1, there's about a half. And then you're going to want to add in a jerk seasoning. Now that really makes this taste really good. You're going to want to add in 1 tablespoon of jerk. And then you're going to want to take the beefless seasoning mix and add in about 1 tablespoon of that. So 1 tablespoon of beefless seasoning. Just kind of stir it all up. See, give it a taste. Oh, that's going to taste incredible. Maybe just a little bit more salt. Stir it up and give it a taste. Perfect. Okay, so we want to bring our broth to a boil on the stove. Then we're going to turn it down, bring it down to a simmer. And our meat's just about ready, so when this gets back down to a simmer, we're going to go ahead and add our meat. And then we're going to put it in our oven, which is set at 275. And we'll cook it for an hour and a half. Now the one thing you do want to remember is you do not want to boil your seitan. You want to slow cook it. You do not want it to boil. If you boil it, it's going to turn into a rubbery sponge. So we've already gone ahead and we've boiled up our broth over here, brought it down to a simmer. So I'm going to go ahead and get the meat out and we're going to get it put in and then we're going to get it put in the oven. Okay, so our meat's been resting for about 30 minutes. We have it right here. I'm going to go ahead and unwrap it. That looks pretty good. So you want to take it, fold it up in a cheesecloth, and go ahead and put it in your broth. That way it'll hold it all together. I'm just going to cover it. Okay, I'm going to put it in the oven. I'll see you back here in about an hour and a half. Okay, we're at our halfway point, so I'm going to take it out of the oven and I'm going to turn the brisket over and put it back in for another 45 minutes. Oh, that's cooking up nicely, as you can see. Okay, that's it. I'm going to throw it back in the oven for another 45 minutes and it'll all be done. Okay, our seitan is all done cooking. I'm going to go ahead and pull it out. So I'm going to use a hot glove so that way I can take it out of the cheesecloth. And you can see our spices are still on there. So there's our seitan corned beef brisket. I have a pan heating up on the stove right now with some olive oil on it. We're going to go ahead and we're going to put our seitan brisket in the pan, and we're going to put some more spices on it, and we're going to cook it up on each side to a crispy golden color. We're just going to go ahead and throw our corned beef brisket in there. Ooh, hear that? So what we're going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of maple syrup to the top of it. That'll help with browning. Add a little black pepper. Now we're going to add some sweet yellow mustard. Okay, we're going to flip it over. And we're going to do the same thing to the other side. I'm going to add a little maple syrup. Then a little yellow sweet mustard and some black pepper. Let it start cooking. Get it browned up on that side. Okay, we're going to flip it over. We're going to do the same thing to the other side. We're going to turn it to a nice golden brown. You can see it in there. It's looking pretty good. That should make a real nice corned beef brisket that I'm going to really enjoy on a Reuben. So we'll let this brown up just a little bit longer. Then we'll take it down to the cutting board and we'll do a cut on it, and you can see what it looks like. Okay, this is our brisket after I've already fried it in the frying pan. So let's go ahead and let's just make a cut and just take a look at it. Perfect. It's got a nice red inside. Cuts really nice. Okay, there's our brisket. Okay, that wraps up our video for making a seitan corned beef brisket. I hope you liked the video. If you did, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Go ahead and click that subscribe button on my channel. And I have a lot more vegan videos coming. So stay tuned. Y'all have a great day. Later.